Hello, and thank you all for joining us for tonight's first ever virtual State of the City. While the format may be different from past years, the goal of the evening remains the same: to provide the residents of Minot with updates on some of the accomplishments and achievements of 2020, and there certainly were many, and to discuss some of the ongoing challenges facing the community in 2021, and there will be many as well. First, I would like to take a moment to welcome Harold Stewart, who recently became our Minot City Manager. Harold, we're glad you decided to join us in making Minot a more resilient community and an even better place to live. Your experience will benefit our residents and our employees at the City of Minot. Speaking on behalf of the Minot City Council, we look forward to working with you on creating a more sustainable, successful future for our community and our residents. To Harold and his wife Andrea and to his family, welcome to Minot. Let's be direct. 2020 left us with a few choice words and phrases ingrained in our memories. COVID-19, coronavirus, pandemic, a new normal, unprecedented in times like these. Quite frankly, we're tired of hearing all of them. Unfortunately, those words and phrases are still with us as we begin 2021, and it's impossible to discuss 2020 without including the coronavirus pandemic and its effects on our community and on the City of Minot as an organization. Like many other communities in the state and across our nation, Minot dealt with constant changes in 2020 at the hands of COVID-19. At the City of Minot, we implemented new procedures and policies to help protect our workforce and members of the public who interact with our employees on a daily basis. We had more employees working remotely than ever before, and our safety protocols in the city buildings changed dramatically. Those changes allowed us to provide safe quarantine for employees who had tested positive or those who were close contacts, while still ensuring that the operations at the City of Minot continued. Even in the midst of the pandemic, there is work to be done. Roads need to be repaired, snow must be removed, the water treatment plant must be operated and staffed 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Garbage must still be collected. Inspections must take place to keep work going on in the construction industry. Bills must be sent to customers and payments must be processed. The world around us continues, and the City of Minot is part of that world, COVID or no COVID. The changes in 2020 certainly challenged the members of our entire staff, including members of our IT staff. They helped countless employees set up workstations at remote locations to ensure the work of the city was not interrupted. To all of our employees who maintained a strong work ethic and continued their efforts to best serve our members of the community, we say thank you. Our employees are the heart and soul of our organization, and we're proud of the work that they did in 2020 in the face of a global pandemic. Through all of it, we've adapted, we've refined our processes, we've innovated, and we've persevered. We didn't envision implementing workplace mandates for our employees or those who visited the City of Minot buildings. But as the year wore on and the numbers of positive COVID-19 cases, both inside our organization and in our community, continued to rise, it became necessary to do our part to slow the virus's spread. The fact that we're watching this year's State of the City virtually instead of attending in person is a reminder that COVID-19 remains an issue within our community and within the state and across the country. Just recently, the state risk level was lowered to green, and with that, the mayoral executive mask mandate was lifted. The decision was not made lightly, factoring in not only the state risk level, but at the local level with hospital capacity, local infectious numbers, and progression on vaccinations. This certainly doesn't mean that COVID isn't a concern any longer. There is still infection, and health officials and I are still urging people to wear masks when around others, practice personal distancing, and good hygiene. COVID is not going to magically disappear overnight, but through cooperation, dedication, and good old-fashioned concern for our neighbors, we are contributing to the virus's decline. In fact, the number of positive cases has continued to trend downward in recent weeks, which is good news, and perhaps there are better, safer days on the horizon. We've already lost far too many North Dakotans to the virus, and as an organization, we remain committed to using the most up-to-date data from our local experts to help make informed decisions to best protect our community and our organization. At the City of Minot, the members of the Minot Fire Department and Police Department have been affected perhaps more than any other department simply because of the nature of their jobs, which cannot be done remotely. When that fire alarm rings or when a 911 emergency call comes into our dispatch center, firefighters and police officers respond. Police officers and firefighters interact with the public each and every day, and both departments have taken serious and long-lasting steps to better protect their employees and the public. Our 4 fire stations remain closed to the general public, as does our police station. We don't anticipate that changing anytime soon, simply because we must do everything reasonable to safeguard the workers who provide essential services of protecting our community, protecting you. We must continue to ensure our police officers and firefighters remain ready to respond at a moment's notice. When police officers or firefighters respond to an emergency now, there are countless things on their minds in addition to the immediacy of the emergency. Is anyone at the scene COVID positive? What kind of precautions will I need to take when I arrive on scene? Do I have the proper personal protection equipment to protect our officers or our firefighters? Unfortunately, these changes will continue as we embark on 2021. In fact, many of our first responders were vaccinated against the coronavirus early this year as part of their protective measures. For their continued diligence in protecting our community and themselves, we sincerely say thank you. This past year, we witnessed a great example to remind us that first responders don't just answer the call to service on a local basis. 4 of our firefighters responded to a nationwide mission this fall, spending more than 2 weeks helping battle wildfires in Oregon. Casey Meadows, Jason West, Will Dakota, and John Hansen made the 2-day drive to the West Coast as part of a North Dakota coalition of firefighters. There they spent time in fire camps, helping firefighters from around the country battle the out-of-control wildfires that raged across several states. To no one's surprise, many firefighters from Minot volunteered for the duty. The 4 who were chosen for the assignment represented not only the Minot Fire Department, but the entire firefighting service, and they did represent it in an extraordinary fashion. Thank you for making us all even more proud of the work done by our men and women on the front lines. As we reflect on 2020, we realize that COVID has changed virtually every profession in some manner, including those outside the city of Minot's operations. But those professions have a profound impact on our community as a whole and on the employees of the city of Minot. Has anyone faced more drastic changes than employees in the healthcare industry? Certainly their world will never be the same again. As the pandemic worsened through the months of 2020, our healthcare professionals were challenged with not only caring for the sick in our community, but also with protecting themselves and their families from COVID-19. Every day they reported to work. Healthcare professionals at all levels knew they were putting their own health on the line, and yet they showed up anyway. It's what they do. Tragically, healthcare workers too often watched members of our community succumb to the effects of COVID-19 and other illnesses. It's been a sobering experience for everyone in healthcare, and we want them to know that we appreciate their devotion to our health and to our safety. We cannot say thank you enough. We look forward to the day when COVID-19 doesn't dominate your discussion at work. Our local school systems have also been overwhelmed with changes and modifications to the delivery of education to thousands of students. It hasn't been easy, to say the least. Teaching 24th graders in a traditional classroom setting is a challenge in and of itself. Teaching those same 4th graders on a computer screen for months at a time, well, that adds a whole different level of stress and uncertainty for teachers, students, and parents. At the end of 2019-2020 school year, the challenges of switching from classroom settings to establishing a system to teach students virtually were endless. But educators did what they always do. They adapted. They created a virtual learning system essentially from scratch, a monumental task, to say the very least. When they reverted to teaching most of those students in the classroom, with some students still learning virtually in the 2020-2021 school year as it began, there have been countless changes, modifications, and alterations as the school year has progressed. Parents who help their children learn from home no doubt have a new level of appreciation for teachers. So do we. As the father of a student in the Minot public school system, I can't say thank you enough. The dedication of teachers, staff, and administration is on display daily in every school system in Minot, from elementary school to middle school to high school and to Minot State University. The educational environment may be different, but The common goal remains the same: to provide the best educational opportunities for our community's students. The genuine love for students has always been visible before COVID-19 became part of our world, and that dedication will remain long after COVID-19 has retreated. To everyone in the educational system, we offer our sincerest thanks. We appreciate you and we support you, and we are committed to helping education maintain their own physical and mental health through this long ordeal. We also continue to support our local business community, which has suffered through the dizzying challenges brought on by COVID-19. Ever-changing hours, limiting on customer capacity, and social distancing guidelines have wreaked havoc on many businesses in our community, large and small. Through it all, business owners have often faced impossible decisions with potentially devastating effects on their employees and their families. Do they stay open with restrictions in place? Do they temporarily close? How can they protect and help their employees? And who continues to come to work? Far too often, frontline employees bore the brunt of backlash from customers angry about the reduction of hours or other changes that were brought on by the pandemic. These employees continue to serve their customers and to provide for their families, and we salute them for their resilience and perseverance. While pandemics and the changes brought associated with them are temporary, kindness, human decency, and respect for others should be a permanent part of our lives. We must strive to be better in 2021. I don't know about you, but our community was a little too quiet in 2020. Because of COVID, Minot lost some of our signature events: the North Dakota State Fair, the Norsk Husfest, MSU Summer Theater, and many more large and small events. While we understand the decisions that had to be made, we certainly hope that 2020 was simply an abbreviation, an asterisk. Events like this have helped Minot secure its status as a regional hub, and where folks from all other communities come to take part in these major entertainment opportunities. Dare I say that we actually missed the additional traffic that goes along with the North Dakota State Fair and the Husfest. Summer simply isn't the same without the North Dakota State Fair. And another year without Husfest, absolutely no thanks. Here's hoping that these events and others canceled by the pandemic all come back better, bigger, and stronger than ever before here in 2021. We've heard from so many people who were disappointed when those events were canceled in 2020, and it's heartwarming to know that Minot's signature events have become ingrained in the lives of Minot residents and those from around the communities throughout our region and state. The COVID-19 restrictions unfortunately hampered the 2020 census, a once-in-a-decade effort to count the residents of the United States. Here in Minot, we had high hopes that the census would verify what we believe to be true, that Minot's population is at or above the 50,000 mark. Reaching 50,000 residents, population, that level would have been an infusion of federal funds into our community, while at the same time putting our city on the map, so to speak, with more national retail and restaurant chains who often use the 50,000 population figure to decide where to build new stores or expand current locations. We're still hopeful the census will show Minot is what we know it to be, a growing community that has reached that 50,000 mark in residents. While the pandemic certainly demanded a lot of our attention in 2020, it couldn't stop progress on projects that are vital to the future safety and security of our community. The projects that were completed in 2020 will have lasting impacts on our community and help define our future. Other long-term projects crucial to Minot's resiliency continues to completion, and more work lies ahead on two of our biggest infrastructure projects in our community's history. The Moss River Enhanced Flood Protection Project is an ongoing monumental legacy task, with work continuing throughout this year and beyond. But we've checked several items off of our flood protection list in the past year, including the Napa Valley phase. Work was completed in this phase, which stretches from the west edge of Minot at the Highway 83 bypass to 16th Street Southwest near the water treatment plant. Earthen levees were constructed and a new stormwater pump station was built south of Prickett Elementary School. To accommodate the project, the layout of the Wheelinks Golf Course was realigned and a new entrance to the parking lot was added. Phase 3, also known as Forest Road, was also finished, completing the construction of earthen levees that work in conjunction with the levees in Phase 2 to help protect a portion of southwest Minot. Perhaps the most noticeable phase was Phase 1, also known as 4th Avenue. When you drive over the Broadway Bridge, you see the impact of this phase with 2,250 feet of flood wall stretching to the east and a new stormwater pump station to the west. A section of 4th Avenue East has been relocated to accommodate the protective flood walls in that area, with traffic signals being built on the north edge of the 3rd Street Bridge. The stormwater pump station, a key component of the entire project, was complete and will be the largest of its kind in the entire state. We will complete work inside the pump station over the winter months, and the facility is scheduled to be tested and ready for operation this coming spring. As we move forward with the next phases of the project, there was recently good news about Phase 4, also known as the Maple Diversion. In late 2020, this phase became eligible for federal funding, although much work remains to secure the funding for the approximately $90 million project that will help protect many residents in the River Valley. This phase, when combined with Phases 1 through 3, will help protect more than 60% of our community from future flooding. The Northwest Area Water Supply Project became closer to completion in 2020, and the work continues in 2021 with the design underway on a water treatment facility to be built near Max and the continuation of a project to expand the size and capacity of the Minot Water Treatment Plant. NAWS has been a dream for Minot and many other communities in need of a reliable source of drinking water for decades. That dream grows closer to becoming a reality each and every year. Once the newly expanded Minot Water Treatment Plant is operating at full capacity, Minot will expand its role as a regional source of clean, drinkable water for numerous communities in north-central North Dakota. A key section of 31st Avenue Southeast between Broadway and 13th Street Southeast has been upgraded with a new roadway, sidewalks, and multi-use path installed, along with new lighting, proper drainage, and other elements. Minot's first roundabout at the intersection of 31st and 13th got most of the attention, but this project was much more important to Southeast Minot than one unique feature. While the roundabout will help reduce the number of vehicle crashes at the intersection and reduce the severity of crashes that do happen, the improved stormwater drainage and other components of that project will also have long-lasting impacts. Long-time stormwater drainage issues were addressed on another busy stretch of road in southwest Minot, with work conducted in the area around 10th Street Southwest and 31st Avenue Southwest, just south of Dakota Square Mall. New storm sewer pipes were installed, and the intersection of 31st Avenue Southwest and 10th Street Southwest was reconstructed to eliminate poor drainage conditions there. We anticipate traffic volumes in southwest Minot will continue to grow, and this project fixed that problem that we've had concerns with residents and drivers for many years. Broadway, without a question, is the backbone of the transportation sector in Minot. It's a major connection portal for local and regional traffic. It's a primary access to countless businesses, communities, and destinations and neighborhoods, and yet it can be a barrier for walking, biking, and transit. We have started a comprehensive study of the Broadway corridor in conjunction with the North Dakota Department of Transportation and the firm KLJ. The results of this study will be a series of short, mid, and long-term transportation-based improvements to upgrade the safety and functionality for all users of this corridor. Broadway has undergone significant improvements in the last 30 years, and there are some areas of poor pavement conditions, especially around the US 2 interchange in South Minot, as well as other concerns that could limit potential improvements. The goal of our ongoing Broadway study is to increase the corridor's safety and make it more user-friendly at the same time, especially for walkers, bikers, and other users. You'll hear more about this study as it progresses in the year to come. We're pressing forward with our National Disaster Resiliency Program as we strive to evolve into a more resilient community. Several projects are in the works that were core components of the action plan we submitted to the Housing and Urban Development as part of the $74.3 million award that we received in 2016. We told HUD we would create more affordable housing to eliminate our community's low to moderate income housing shortage, and that's exactly what we are doing. Blue on Broadway, a private-public partnership, is under construction on South Broadway. The project will create a mixed-use building with bottom floor being dedicated to the commercial space and 3 floors of low to moderate income housing units above it. The developers are also creating additional amenities, including a playground and dog park for the building's residents and others in the neighborhood. Of course, that is on the side of the building that is not facing Broadway. Just recently, we all learned of a setback on Minot's first ever family homeless shelter. With Lutheran Social Services no longer able to march the project forward, city staff, community partners, and I are working on putting that project back on track, and I'm confident that we will find a way. A former motel in South Minot has already been cleared and demolished, with plans already drawn up for construction for that family homeless shelter. And adjacent to low to moderate income housing units, this project was a critical element of our agreement with HUD, and we are committed to help support our community's vulnerable population in getting the project back on track. Another senior low to moderate income housing project is also underway near the South Hill Softball Complex. This NDR project will create an additional 52 affordable housing units, specific for our senior demographic, as we leverage the federal funds from HUD and partner with private entities to alleviate our community's shortage of affordable LMI housing. We're also making steady progress on another long-standing community concern, our infamous zombie homes, which are structures that were unfortunately abandoned or otherwise left untouched after the 2011 flood. In most cases, these structures have deteriorated beyond repair and are a health hazard in many of our neighborhoods. The city, using federal funds, has purchased and removed many of these structures, including several in 2020. Our list has now dwindled to less than 10 of these properties, as we are working to rid our community of these dangerous structures. We fully recognize these are more than just zombie homes, though. They were once home to families in our community, many of whom were devastated financially by the 2011 flood. We take no particular joy in seeing these homes, once full of laughter and full of families, demolished and removed. But we are also committed to this process, as it must continue within our neighborhoods, and we are moving forward to recover from the 2011 flood effects. Our goal for the Resilient Homebuyers Program was to complete 25 forgivable second mortgage loans by the end of 2020. We actually topped those numbers with 30 mortgages worth $1.7 million completed, and we're working to complete more mortgages this year. The program has been instrumental in helping residents affected by the 2011 flood reestablish themselves in neighborhoods away from the flood zone, and we look forward to providing assistance to more residents through the NDR program in 2021. Another project in the works for a few years is the relocation of City Hall to a new downtown location. And 2021 will be an important year in this project's path forward to becoming reality. The city has agreed to purchase the former Wells Fargo building, repurposing the structure and moving City Hall downtown. It will take time to design the new City Hall and even more time to renovate the former bank building into a location to house our finance department, city council chambers, IT staff, public information department, city managers, and so much more. Perhaps the biggest change, though, will be moving the Emergency Dispatch Center from its current location in the Minot Police Department, where it was perilously close to the floodwaters in 2011, and moving it to the new building downtown where it will be safe from flooding. The Minot Police Department, currently working in cramped, overcrowded quarters, will utilize the space in the former City Hall to accommodate its officers. Minot Municipal Court will also be moving out of its long temporary location in the auditorium to an area in the current City Hall building as well. Near the end of 2020, we welcomed a one-year extension of the deadline to utilize the $74.3 million from HUD. We now have until September 30th, 2023 to utilize those funds. All of our projects remain on track to be expended by the original September 30th, 2022 deadline, but the extension gives us a bit of breathing room should we encounter some unexpected setbacks. Now, as the 2021 legislature continues its work in Bismarck, there are several issues important to Minot and to other communities in North Dakota, but funding for our basin-wide flood control project is at the forefront of our legislative concerns. There are several ideas being considered, but I'll break it down to a simplistic analysis for Minot's flood control project. At the current rate of state appropriation, it will take us more than 20 years to complete the basin-wide project. If a bonding issue passes, it will make it feasible to build the project much more quickly and possibly get it done in approximately 12 years. That's a decade earlier for flood protection, a decade less for anticipated increase in flood insurance rates, and a decade in savings of construction inflationary costs. The savings alone would be more than $100 million. We also need to pair the state cost share bonding with a mechanism for local cost share for long-term low-interest borrowing or bonding either through the state or through the federal government. But this is the first major step in putting flood control on a fast track for completion. We are in constant contact and collaboration with our local lawmakers to impress upon lawmakers from around the state the importance of creating such programs and to assist them in telling Minot's story to lawmakers from across North Dakota. On the other issue of water, it's hard to believe, but in 2021, it will mark the 10-year anniversary of the 2011 flood. It's a disaster that is still fresh and raw in the minds and hearts of many in Minot and throughout the basin. As a community, as an organization, we will take a moment this year to reflect not only on the physical, financial, and spiritual devastation inflicted on our community that year, but perhaps more importantly, to remind ourselves of the progress that we've made on our ongoing recovery efforts. But in the years since the river receded from our city streets and our homes, we have worked with great resolve to reshape and rebuild our neighborhoods and ourselves. In the past decade, Minot's physical appearance has changed again as concrete flood walls and earthen levees have risen to protective heights. That challenging work continues in 2021 and well beyond. The remaining flood control efforts are daunting, but we stand firm in our pledge to complete this project to protect our community and the entire Souris River Basin for decades to come. As we move forward, we are thankful for our many community partners who help Minot grow not only in physical size and population, but also contribute immeasurable content to our city's culture and character. Perhaps no one has a greater impact on our community than our friends at Minot Air Force Base. Yes, the base and its personnel have a financial impact on the Minot region, measuring more than $500 million every year. But our relationship with Minot Air Force Base is so much more than dollars and cents. The men and women of our neighbors to the north are our friends, our neighbors, and our family members. They're always ready to volunteer their time and support to community organizations and events. Minot continues to grow our welcoming community outreach to Minot Air Force Base personnel, and Adopt an Airman program is underway to help connect members of the Minot Air Force Base with the community. The Minot Area Chamber of Commerce, EDC, and the Military Affairs Committee are partnering with Minot Air Force Base to provide volunteers looking to help ease the transition for military members and their families. Acting as hosts and often as mentors, local families have the opportunity to build relationships with military members that often last a lifetime. The Adopt an Airman program directors will work to match the host families with the airmen who have similar interests and characteristics to ensure the positive interaction for everyone. If you're interested in adopting an airman, please contact the Chamber of Commerce EDC, and you'll certainly be glad that you did. We want to make sure that everyone at Minot Air Force Base feels at home in our community so they can focus on their mission, and that is protecting our country. We sincerely thank everyone at Minot Air Force Base for their sacrifice and willingness to defend our freedom each and every day. In 2021, we are also tasked with finding more ways to support our local business community. Small businesses are key building blocks or the lifeblood of cities like Minot. They are owned by our friends, our neighbors, and our family members. They play a key role in our community, lending support to all sorts of causes, fundraisers, and events. In turn, we must support them by safely frequenting their establishments in an effort to help them survive and thrive in the business climate deeply affected by the pandemic. When we lose a homegrown small business, we lose part of what defines us as a community. In 2021, I urge all residents to continue to support our local business owners as they fight forward. An important aspect of that support took place on January 1 with the merger of Minot Chamber of Commerce and the Minot Area Development Corporation. The two organizations have long been housed in the same building and have shared employees, making the merging a logical step in promoting efficiencies and creating effective business recruitment and retention strategies. The combined mission remains the same, and that is simply focus on promoting business, leadership, and growth in Minot and the area while assisting in business attraction, expansion, and retention to strengthening and diversifying Minot's area economy. We look forward to partnering with the newly integrated organization in building our successes and to make Minot an even more business-friendly community by capitalizing on our strengths. One noticeable success that took place last year and will grow in 2021, and that is meaningful activity, is finally rolling at the intermodal facility in Northeast Minot. Rail Modal Group of Minot began operating at the facility in November, and in cooperation with numerous partners, including BNSF Railway, containers at the facility are loaded with North Dakota agricultural products to be shipped to ports on the West Coast where they can be delivered to international destinations. North Dakota producers and processors now have access to additional transportation options for their products, which is key in promoting growth and diversification in our area's economy. This development has been in the works for a long time, and many people played a very important role in accomplishing this goal. We say thank you to everyone involved, and we look forward to the port growing in the coming years. Its impact will be larger than most people can begin to realize. As part of tonight's event, I issued a challenge to the community to nominate someone as the Citizen of the Year and to tell us their story through a short video. The submitted video stories reinforced to us that our residents do amazing things each and every day. Whether the nominated citizen impacted hundreds of Minot residents or just one, the message is the same. Minot is a great place to live, work, and play because of our people. The decision to choose one nominee as our Citizen of the Year certainly wasn't easy. All the nominees deserve recognition for the good deeds and the positive influences they have on other members of our community. This year is also exceptional, with one exceptional standout and a group of exceptional people. Because of this, I am proud to announce our Citizen of the Year and Honorary Citizens of the Year.
Vicki deserves to be recognized as Minot Citizen of the Year due to the variety of charitable activities she's involved herself in and the overall kindness she displays to the people of our community. Vicki spent 39 years as a civil servant at the Minot Air Force Base and earned the recognition of Civilian of the Quarter on more than one occasion, and also Civilian of the Year. During her working years, she remained involved in the lives of her children and the children of our community by serving as a Girl Scout leader, room mother, supporting local sports teams, and volunteering in other capacities. She volunteered many years at the Domestic Violence Crisis Center and the Sexual Assault Hotline, receiving calls at any hour of the night to offer support to families and individuals, to bring them somewhere safe or meet them at the ER to provide emotional support. Vicki has always been an active member in her church, volunteering wherever she is needed, such as teaching Sunday school, working at the Hoosfest and yearly carnival, baking and serving funeral luncheons, and helping with kitchen cleanup. She also helped to plant a shrub garden outside the church in memory of her late husband. Vicki has a giving heart. Every year she purchases 5 Christmas trees, including the lights and decorations, to give away to families in need. She also shops the Christmas clearance sale for baby outfits to give away the following year and has donated many to our local NICU. You will occasionally find Vicki in her kitchen preparing soup for the local soup kitchen. Since her retirement, Vicki has dedicated her time to volunteering. She plays an active role in the Lord's Cupboard Food Pantry, spending 3 days per week making sure the families of Minot are able to put food on their tables. During the summer, she spends many hours per week using her gardening skills to help tend to the food pantry garden.
It's pretty neat to watch Vicki. She always wants to be quiet in the background, being that caring servant heart, but not to be in the limelight. I can think of a couple cases. In the Lord's Cupboard Food Pantry, we have a garden that's out in the country 20 miles, and Vicki loves to spend time there, but not only so she can enjoy that enjoyment herself. She knows of members of our community that can't drive out there themselves or would choose not to, and Vicki goes around picking them up and taking them to the garden to have a couple hours of fresh air and beautiful mornings in the garden. That is so typical of what Vicki would do in our community.
Her giving doesn't stop there. Vicky also volunteers with the American Red Cross, providing support to local residents in crisis, such as helping those displaced by house fires to find a place to stay and setting them up with other resources. How does she have the energy to spend so much time volunteering? Must be the daily Zumba classes she attends at the Minot YMCA that keep her in shape. You will also find Vicky taking part in local charity walks. On top of everything else she does for the community, she never turns a friend away. She often helps friends and family with cleaning and organizing, gardening, and yard work. Being a great citizen extends past her local community of Minot. She was inspired by the volunteers from other communities that showed up to lend their support during the 2011 flood. Now she is an inspiration to others as her efforts with the Red Cross take her to other communities in our country dealing with disasters such as floods, fires, and hurricanes. Vicky also takes this to another level by volunteering on mission trips to build homes in other countries.
I'm excited to support Vicky for this recognition in our community because she does so much for so many. Not only does she work with the Red Cross extensively in doing work in their hurricane relief area, but Vicky is always, as a member of our church, involved in so many projects within our community. She works extensively at the Lord's Cupboard Food Pantry, and there she is always caring for those that are in need. And that's the general theme I love about Vicky. No matter if she's in this country or in foreign countries, she's always on the lookout for special people in need. She's got a heart for those that need some special attention. I remember one story in particular as we were on a mission trip to El Salvador building homes. And after a hot day and 90-degree plus temperatures, we stopped by an ice cream shop. And of course, we all enjoyed our ice cream and showed up to give her grandchild an ice cream cone, but she had no money for her own. So she left, and Vicky picked up on that. Vicky picked up on it and run down the street and brought Grandma back and bought her an ice cream cone. And much to the amazement of the grandchild, was so thrilled that Grandma got ice cream as well. That's just a little simple example of how heartwarming Vicky is, and not only the kids, always here with kids in those foreign places, trying to make sure that they feel that they are valued and important, but also the grandmas and grandpas and the moms and dads. It was Vicky who would really get compassionate about those that she'd come in contact with. I think of a story of Eliando, was a young man that was unable to go to school because he couldn't physically get there with his wheelchair. And Vicky saw to it that we as a group would lift him up and care for him and make arrangements that he could have a tutor come to his house and be his teacher. That's going above and beyond what the rest of us even thought about doing.
And that is exactly how Vicky is creating magic in Minot, by making a difference in so many lives and being an inspiration to others.
Congratulations to Vicky Fippens, whose volunteerism through a multitude of charity organizations locally and even abroad has earned her the 2021 Minot Citizen of the Year Award. Thank you as well to Jasmine Wallen for nominating Vicky for the honor. 2020 was also a year of sacrifice by so many in the community on the front lines of the COVID fight. It is only appropriate to also honor our nurses and medical professionals as honorary Citizens of the Year for their sacrifice and fight through the COVID-19 pandemic.
Hi, Mayor Sipma, Jean Schemp here. I hear you're looking for nominations for the 2020 Citizen of the Year here in Minot, North Dakota. And there are a ton of individuals who've dedicated hours and hours of their own personal time to better our community. But I'd like to throw a monkey wrench into the whole entire thing. And instead of nominating just one individual, I'd like to nominate a group of individuals as our Citizen of the Year. This year, I'd like to nominate our frontline COVID workers. From the people who did the testing, like First District Health Unit and the National Guard and the Trinity Swab team at the drive-up site, to the first responders like the ambulance crews and the firefighters who responded to emergency calls and treated COVID patients in their homes and transported them to the hospital, the ER workers who worked amid unbelievable conditions, treating COVID patients and other patients all at the same time, even when they were overwhelmed, and still did the best job that they possibly could, to those on the COVID unit who helped our COVID patients work through their illness or work through their deaths. All of those individuals are our citizens of the year this year, and they deserve the utmost recognition and thanks from the citizens of Minot. So this year, I nominate the frontline COVID workers as the 2020 Citizen of the Year here in Minot, North Dakota.
And thank you to Jean Schemp for nominating our medical professionals. Truly, everyone has a story, and we are grateful to share these with you. There are countless positive stories being written in our community each and every day. It's up to all of us to find them and to use them as examples of what can be accomplished through hard work and genuine love of community. As 2021 unfolds, let's remind ourselves to look for the goodness in our community. Let's look for the positives instead of focusing on the negatives. Let's look at who we are and not what we are. Let's look at each other as neighbors and not as strangers. And most importantly, let's look at ourselves, because through a combination of personal reflection and community self-awareness, we can play a role in making Minot an even more welcoming community and home for all of our residents. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and here's to a better year ahead, one with positivity and promise. Thank you.